This business, sometimes I know the athletes I'm going to bring on my show, but most often I do not. We have a handful of people at this network that we employ, and they're regulars, they're part of the team. But Steven Jackson was one of those athletes. I had watched him. He was a tough guy. He was a rough guy. And first time I invited him on the show, I had no idea what I was up against or in for. And I just connected with him. I thought he was incredibly authentic. I thought he was so real. I thought he was outspoken. He didn't really care what I thought about him or what others did. And in my business, I think it's rare when you find people that are loyal to themselves and honesty and be damned with everything else. And it's one of the reasons we keep inviting Steven Jackson back on the show. But we invite him back today for another reason. He was a childhood friend of George Floyd, and he's been front and center nationally on this story. And I want to bring him in via the Cowherd Global Satellite Network. So, first of all, I appreciate it. It's been an emotional time for you. Let's start from that point. You and George were childhood friends. The age, were you athletic friends? Explain to our audience your history with George, who was murdered last week by a police officer in Minneapolis.
Thanks for having me, Colin. Good to see y'all again. About a 23-year relationship. I was playing basketball in my teenage years, and he came down to Port Arthur, Texas, which is 45 minutes from where he lives in Houston, with a friend of mine named Telly. And Telly had already told me he had a homeboy in Houston that looked just like me, and we might have the same daddy. And Telly brought him down, and our first two words when we seen each other was, "Who your daddy? Who your daddy?" and because we looked that much alike. And I think the fact that we looked that much alike, we had some of the same common goals. We kind of lived really the same lives at the time. I was in the streets a lot at the time. And we just bonded. You know, we protected each other. He supported me in everything I was doing. And he was just a great friend, somebody that always had my back.
When you say he's just like you, what, I mean, you meet a lot of people. Why did you remain close? What was it about him?
Well, one thing I loved about him was, the only difference between me and him, we come from the same areas, but I had more opportunity than him. He was a top tight end in the state of Texas. They lost in the state championship. He was also good in basketball. So he had opportunities in sports too. He had a chance to go. He just didn't get the opportunities I had. And Floyd was just a guy who wanted to protect and provide for everybody. He was one of those guys, especially playing basketball. You meet a lot of people that abuse your friendship. At times when he needed things, he didn't even call me because he probably called me a month before and he wanted to call me again. When he did call, he called me for clothes, for a job interview, or something that his mother needed. Most people call you just to try to abuse your friendship because they know you're going to give it to them. He was one of those guys that genuinely supported me and only called when he really needed something.
The video is outrageous and it's disturbing for me. After you saw the video for the next several days, I know it's a personal question. Did you sleep? How difficult was it for you?
It's still kind of crazy just for the whole world to see my friend go like that, and still not have justice all this time after. But I don't know. I mean, I've gotten a little sleep. The first couple of days I didn't sleep, but I don't even know how I feel when people ask me. I can't give them an answer because I'm not even concerned about how I feel. This position just fell in my lap with this happening to my brother getting murdered, and I'm embracing it. So I haven't really thought about myself since it happened. I put myself out here on the front line and standing for my brother, and every time I think about it, I get emotional. But I don't think that feeling will ever go away because everybody's seen it.
What's your reaction to America's reaction to George's death?
I love it. And I love the fact that, Colin, you know this. I've told somebody from every race that I love them and I mean it. So I love the fact that everybody's standing with me because they know that I'm standing for them. I'm not the black man that says black people and I hate everybody else. No, I love being black and I love being black first, but I love everybody as well. And what they're afraid of is every race standing together for the right cause. What they're scared of is us standing together side by side and loving each other and show we can stand together to get things done. But right now they want us to divide, and that's what they're scared of.
I've overwhelmingly seen peaceful protests, overwhelmingly, 99%. And then there are separate groups, and they feel separate from protesters, that they take this opportunity and, they do what they do. And there's stores and there's fires. Does that bother you, or do you think it's part of the process? Do you think it's disrespecting George's legacy? What do you make of the occasional burning car and the store situations?
Yeah, that wasn't him. I always say, I'm a realist. I'm gonna be like, Minnesota had to respond that way. Minnesota had to respond that way. It's a line of cases that still have a lot of families and mothers that still have no answers for their sons being killed. It's not just my brother. Since I've been here, I've learned about at least 3 other mothers whose sons been killed by police, and they still haven't gotten answers. So Minnesota had to respond that way. Everywhere else, I think they went a little bit too far. Yeah, you should have went down to your police stations. Yeah, you should have went down and protested, but it should have been peacefully, especially in Atlanta. Black people basically built Atlanta, so we don't need to tear it down. I live in Atlanta, so that didn't really make no sense. And Floyd wouldn't want people tearing stuff down. He would want love, he would want unity, and he would want everybody to support each other. And that's what I'm going to do.
I would imagine you've had a lot of people, because you've never sought attention since I've known you, and now you're at the center of this, and you're clearly comfortable with this. LeBron reached out. I know that. Have you had a lot of people, different people, politicians, athletes, reach out to you?
I had more people reach out to me than in my whole life. A lot of people. But it's good because they listening and they all want change. But it's time for not to just call me and say you want change, but you got to stand with me. You got to stand on the side of me. Anybody can send me a text. Anybody can send me a DM and say I support you. And then that's all cool. And I'm even talking to my athletes and my friends around the world in entertainment. It's easy to send a text, but guys like Jamie Foxx showed up. Guys like Karl Anthony Towns showed up. Guys like Bun B and Trey the Truth showed up. So guys like Royce White showed up. So certain people showing up. Tamika Mallory, a lot of people showed up. And it's not all about texting and saying you with me. You have to be on the side of me and stand with me.
In your life, and I asked this, Joy and I have talked about this, and I ask every athlete this. This is a personal question, and you don't have to answer it. But in my lifetime, when I have asked executives, athletes who are black in America about driving and seeing and being dealt with differently than I have been. I mean, I get tense when I'm pulled over. But I am overwhelmingly, I can't even begin to talk about this. I'm irrelevant on this topic about police treatment. In your life, do you be as honest as you can, if you would, about you've been pulled over, how you've been treated? You're a big athlete. You're a big, strong athlete. And when you have been pulled over, do you think it's fair? It's just cause? Do you get anxious? How do you feel?
I think the reason why I've never dealt with it, because in my hometown, most of the police that's in my hometown grew up in that area. So they know us all. And I think that's what keeps us from having these situations with police. If more states would have police that grew up in this area and police in the areas they grew up in, they won't have accidents like this because they know everybody. A lot of times you get these ex-military guys or ex-skinhead guys, they come in and be police, and you put them in the area they know nothing about. And these are the things that happen. So no, Colin, I've never dealt with it because like I said, most of the police, they came watch my basketball games. They knew my family, or they went to school with my family. So it was no need to handle me like that. If I was doing something wrong, they could just reach out to my uncle or somebody they went to school with. So I never dealt with it.
So you have mostly in your personal life a positive relationship with law enforcement? No
question.
Yeah. Anybody in your family in law enforcement?
No. Well, actually, I'm lying. My uncle was a CO for a while. I think he still is, if I'm not mistaken, my Uncle Michelle.
You have been thrust into the forefront of this, and it's interesting because I think you're one of the more real people I interview, and you feel you feel very comfortable in this space. Are you surprised a little bit your comfort being out there with this? I don't consider it political. It's a humanity issue, but you've embraced it. You've been comfortable. And are you surprised for you at how you've handled it? Obviously, you're in deep pain, clearly. But are you surprised that you want to speak to people? You get up in the morning and you want to address this.
Well, two reasons why people shouldn't be surprised. The brawl in Detroit and the strip club incident with Jamal Tinsley in Indiana. I've always been there for my brothers. And I'm not surprised because this is my heart. I actually care. You know, I've always actually cared about people. That's why I say I stand for everybody. So I didn't ask for this role, Colin. I didn't ask to be here. If I could rewind back and have my brother back and not be here, I would take it. But this is what it is. This is reality. And I think a lot of people following me because I'm representing what the world has lost, and that's common sense. You know, the world's definitely lost common sense, and people know I stand for everybody, man. So I love everybody. My heart has always been in the right place, and I'm embracing it. I'm not running from it.
Stephen, I appreciate you doing this. At first I didn't know if it was appropriate to bring you on. I think it is, and I appreciate you spreading the message. And you know how much I'm fond I am of you coming on our show. And next time I hope it's in better circumstances, but I appreciate it.
Man, you my guy, Colin. We always got a bond, bro. Anytime you need me, I'm coming regardless what it is.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.